So I've been working in the policy field for over 20 years, but since being at the Bartlett at UCL, I've probably been spending the last few years really trying to engage with policy on very specific research projects around planning and around space syntax and economic network analysis. I think academics can bring a lot to the public policy world by taking a step back and looking at the long-term processes that are behind some of the issues we see day to day on the ground. So understanding not just the immediate issues that policymakers are concerned with, but the actual underlying processes that create those issues. In terms of challenges, I think timing is often an issue. So academics work on much longer timescales than policymakers, so they have to produce intermediate outputs that policymakers can make use of. Another challenge is sometimes policymakers get kind of blinded by science, with academics producing lots of different policy outputs or policy-ready outputs. I think it's better to have longer-term bilateral relationships with very specific policymakers on specific research themes. That works better. So my 5 top tips for people who are wanting to work more with policy. First of all, engage with policymakers to understand what their pressing challenges are. Second of all, when you communicate ideas, make sure you translate kind of complex research findings into simple sentences, simple phrases which can be easily adopted. Thirdly, think about visuals, making sure that you communicate things with illustrations, with graphs, with tables, with maps. It just really enhances your policy message. Fourthly, I would develop ongoing relationships. It can be really useful to have a network of policymakers who are interested in your field so that you can actually, know who to go to when you've got key things to disseminate. And fifthly, just think about evaluating your impact. So I think what policymakers find most convincing is if they find out that other policymakers have implemented your ideas and that it's gone well, or it's changed something. So just be aware that it's not important just to know that you've convinced a policymaker. You need to also understand what happened afterwards on the ground. What I'd like to see more of is when academics and when staff members are thinking about research projects for students, that they reach out to policymakers to understand what pressing challenges there are. I think policymakers would really benefit, but also students would benefit from doing research that's much more related to the policy world, so that when they transition out of academia at the end of their degrees or their postgraduate degrees, they can do something which is relevant to the policy world. So it will help in transitions. So I think with the discipline of local and regional development, urban design and planning, it's really important for academics to be out there talking to people. So I think policymakers, they try very hard to respond to the interests and the needs of their communities, but they don't always have time to really talk to people in depth about the challenges that they're facing. Given that academics have got more time to do in-depth research, I think that should be a real priority for them.